this mood lighting here. Hello. Anybody who... Oh, no, nobody's in here. Let's see if anybody rolls in. No clue what I'm doing. Second live stream. And I believe I'm speaking to no one right now. No one. I have like, but no one's in the chat. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, this is not quite how it was when I streamed on a Saturday. There were a bunch of people quickly rolled in on a Saturday, but it's what's tonight? Tuesday night? I'm not sure how many people are going to stumble in. I'll wait for a few more. How's it going, folks that have dropped into the live chat? I'm still getting my toes. I'm still getting my feet wet with this whole live thing. It's still pretty uncomfortable for me. Definitely not as comfortable as I used to be in front of the camera doing, edited videos. Theory of Everything just commented on a video and just found the channel, and here you are. Well, serendipity. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Thank you for tuning in. If I get like 5 to 10 people in here, I plan to, for about a half hour or so, just talk about some movies I've been watching. I've been going down some rabbit holes that I don't usually go down, and I wanted to kind of discuss that just a little bit. For those of you, I'm not sure if the people in the chat right now, the couple of you, know that I had an emergency and had to move out of my house about a month ago. Well, about 3 weeks ago now. Feels like a long time ago. We had a termite infestation in the house we were renting, and we were forced out by our landlord. And basically, we didn't really have anywhere to go, my brother and I. So my brother is staying with my sister for a couple months, and I'm the lucky one who gets to stay with his mommy for hopefully no more than 2 months, which is a blessing. Obviously, it's just, as a 36-year-old male, it's a little, I haven't lived with my mother since my mid-20s. It's like a little demoralizing, but c'est la vie. I'm lucky to have a mother who has taken me in and, is not expecting me to pay rent and save some money so I can get out of here and get back to my normal life. So, Mama Cyborg, yeah. Something like that. Forgive me. This is my water. Anybody who's familiar with my videos knows I have my bottle of water, or at least what I claim is a bottle of water. Nobody knows the truth. I could be a highly functioning alcoholic for all that you know. I'm not. Actually, haven't had a drink in a year and a half. Believe it or not. Put down the drink about a year and a half ago. For now. I'm not saying it's for forever, but... All right, so nobody's really rolling in, so it looks like I'm just talking to a few people. I'm going to try to maintain the awkwardness, sustain myself through the awkwardness. What's up, Vengeance Falls 96? Sup? What's up? I'm chilling. Trying to wait for a few more people to stroll in here, and I'll talk about some movies I've been watching recently. I've watched some really interesting films, some not so interesting films. You're exhausted? Yeah. Me too. I'm tired. Job's killing me. I've got some annoying health issues that have been bugging me. And yeah, definitely tired. I feel it right now. Actually, as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, I feel that too. But that's okay. What have you guys been watching? Anybody who's in the chat right now, I'm curious to know what you guys have been watching, and maybe I can kind of riff off that for the time being. So, yeah, look, this is so not my room. I would never have a thing saying love behind me. It'd more so be like one of the creatures from The Thing or something. That's the way I express my love. But I don't want to go shifting things around. The room is already, the room that I'm staying in at my mother's has already become, my nest. Started watching that film Unhinged you reviewed. Oh, yeah, because it's on YouTube. I don't hate it. Yeah, I hear you. In hindsight, that movie definitely has a charm to it it's memorable. I remember the atmosphere, the awkward atmosphere of that film. It's charming. It's not a great film, I don't think. I bet you on a rewatch, I will change that slightly. I'll alter my opinion on it to be a bit higher. But I do remember, yeah, Unhinged. That is an obscure horror film. I think I did a full review on that. I can't remember. Unhinged, 1982. Yeah, I gave it a 1.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 1982, Unhinged. Don Gronquist, the legend, who did a film called The Devil's Keep, which I actually own. That's interesting. I have that film because it's a Nazi film, historical film. I'm interested in it. And then he did Unhinged in the 80s. So, yeah, the people that I follow are kind of the people I follow on Letterboxd have around the same views as me. I actually follow Rambo Raff. I'm sure some of you guys know Rambo Raff. He was he's one of the OGs in brutally honest movie reviewing, which was definitely inspiration for my channel too, because I just wanted to be real. I don't care who I pissed off with my opinions. I just wanted to share my opinions. But yeah, nobody that I follow really loved this film. Maybe it's one that's better in hindsight than it is when you're watching it. Thanks for checking out that video, by the way. You're now one of like 40 people who have watched it, so thank you. Right now, a bunch of 80s movies. Nice. What kind of 80s movies? Any genres that you're honing in on? Or that's the way I watch movies. I home in on specific genres and subgenres and almost how do you say types of films. I'm blanking on the word, but that kind of thing. Like I'll go down a rabbit hole of Mad Max ripoffs, 80s Italian Mad Max ripoffs for like 2 weeks. It's like I've watched so many films. I've watched so many films in my day that my moods get hyper specific, and people definitely think I'm a little nuts. But I take my movie. I try to watch a movie a day, and I take it seriously. So I really pick and choose the movies I'm watching. Sometimes I take too long to decide on a movie. I'm getting better at that. There have been times where I sit there for an hour looking at my movies and I'm just paralyzed by choice. And these days, if I feel that come on, that paralysis, I just pick something. Just fucking pick something. It'll be all right. Or it'll be shit. Either way, it'll be fine. It's an experience, right? Excuse me. All right, we got a few people in here. Back to the Future is my all-time favorite. I love Monster Squad, Hellraiser, The Shining, Blade Runner. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Blade Runner, The Shining, Back to the Future, those are some of my favorites as well. Monster Squad is one that has grown on me. I'm not huge on it, but I do enjoy it. I need to check that movie out again. It's not one I grew up renting in the early 90s or anything like that. So it's one I caught much later in my life when I was a teenager, and I don't know. I think the lore surrounding it, the cultural significance of it, tainted my viewing experience. But I still thought it was a great movie. By Frank Black, written by Frank Black and Ted Decker, who teamed up again to do the classic seminal Predator film, The Predator, which is the best Predator film. Just kidding. It's not. It's actually the worst by far. But hey, what are you going to do? Hellraiser, I love the first 3. 4 through 9 or 10 or whatever are good time wasters. Especially the one directed by Alan Smithee. That's a good one. There might be more than one directed by Alan Smithee. The newest Hellraiser, I couldn't even finish. I thought it was generic, bland, nihilistic for the sake of nihilism. And just kind of whack. Recently watched a 70s horror called Fright. 70s horror called Fright. Well, you got me on that one. I say you got me, but it's probably on my watch list somewhere on Letterboxd. No, it's not. Peter Collinson. Okay. 1971. He's directed the original Italian Job, which I think is an okay movie. Little overrated in my opinion. I actually like the remake a bit better. I know, crazy. Susan George, Honor Blackman, an actress from the 70s, beautiful, Honor Blackman. Susan George, of course, I know from a lot of she was in a bunch of stuff. Enter the Ninja, Straw Dogs, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Tintorera, yeah, tons of stuff. I think she was married to somebody. Was she married to George Eastman of Italian horror film fame? Who am I thinking of? Susan, am I right on that? Here I am going down my own little rabbit holes while streaming. I can't. Yeah, I'm blanking. It was light on the fright, but a decent watch. Light on the fright's okay. So long as a film has something going for it. Over the top performances, atmosphere can carry a film for me. The acting could be the worst in the world. The script could be utter ass. But as long as the atmosphere is on point, which the 70s and 80s really understood, and I think a lot of it has to do with being filmed on film, I find that films today have such archetypal, standardized digital ambiances, and it really drives me crazy. So when I'm actually thinking about producing a short film, I'm in the very beginning stages, and one of the things I really want to achieve is atmosphere on a digital medium, and see if I could get some sort of atmosphere tone going. That's going to be my project. It's kind of an experiment, but the DeLorean is still cool as hell, even though that car is a massive lemon. I don't know much about the actual vehicle. In my head, it's just a fantasy car that only exists in Back to the Future. Good atmosphere, beautiful lead, and go-go boots. Yeah, that's probably Susan George. So you can't go wrong with that. 70s, you'd be hard-pressed to find a 70s horror film without atmosphere. It was almost something that was inherent in low-budget horror filmmaking that was shot on film. It's like there's an inherent atmosphere that you don't even need to work very hard to achieve. And I think that's testament in the fact that a lot of these low-budget films from the 70s have that. And, they didn't have much money. So it's possible. You can make it happen. But, all right, well, I guess I have my core group here there was 3. Now there's 2. Yeah, this isn't going as spectacular as I thought. I figured I'd get like 5 to 10 people in here. But that's okay. People can always watch it on the rerun. So I guess I'll start talking about, regardless of how many people are in here, start with a couple movies that I rented from my local Video Vortex. Video Vortex. Which is, I'm very grateful and lucky to have a Video Vortex near me. A Video Vortex is a rental shop that's inside of the Alamo Drafthouse in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, I think a couple other Alamo Drafthouses have Video Vortexes or these rental shops, but this one in particular, I think has the largest selection. Guys, we're talking, I think it says, we're talking like 60,000 DVDs, Blu-rays, and VHS, mostly DVDs, that these guys rent out for free. Free, 2 at a time. Literally, you don't ever have to watch a movie. You could just go rent 2 movies, come back next week, you have them for a week, return them, rent 2 more movies. And if you want to rent a third, it's like $2.99 for the week. But make sure you get them back on time. That's the hardest part for me because I live kind of 30 minutes away from it, so it's a bit of a hike. But the 2 movies that I rented last week, they're actually going back tomorrow, and I'm going to get a couple more. It's been hard for me to stream movies at my mother's house because a lot of people are using the internet at once. So I came in and I'm taking up bandwidth. And man, I'm watching movies that are cutting off halfway through, and it's an absolute nightmare. You make me want to go visit my folks in Charlotte. All the best fleas and thrifts are down south. Yeah, I mean, I will say there's some truth to that because I'm from Connecticut originally. I spent almost all 25 years in Connecticut, and it was I found stuff, don't get me wrong, but it was hyperinflated prices, very expensive. The moment that the people that worked there figured out that people were buying certain things, they'd start raising prices on them, and it was very calculated. And down here I find so many pawn shops getting rid of their movies for $1, 50 cents. And I'm always finding out to print DVDs. I've slowed down collecting quite a bit because I'm really content with what I have. I've gotten rid of a lot of things to make room for some more things that I do want. But Charlotte, yeah, I have been to Charlotte. I don't go to Charlotte too often because it's a bit outside of my purview here in the Raleigh area of North Carolina. But anyway, guys, this one, this is an incredible film. It's called Living in Oblivion. I need to get this on DVD. Luckily, the DVD is affordable. It's on Blu-ray, I think, in Spain. Vivir Rodando, I believe it's called in Spain. But I think I'll just settle for the DVD for now until it gets a proper North American release. Living in Oblivion stars Steve Buscemi, Dermot Mulroney, Catherine Keener. Catherine Keener's super young in this. Who else? Kevin Corrigan. A lot of character actors you would see throughout the late 90s, early and the 2000s, and even up till today. Catherine Keener's, relatively big, popular actress now. Buscemi is in the lead in this, and he plays a traumatized, impassioned filmmaker who it's really hard to describe this film without giving away too much because it's a very segmented film. 3 acts. First act is a dream inside of... I can't even say much. Yeah, I can't say much. All I'll say is that this film is all about the trials and tribulations of low-budget filmmaking. We're talking like in the $50,000 to $100,000 range filmmaking. So not super low budget, but low budget enough that things inevitably go wrong and get crazy. And most people watch this film that want to make films, apparently, and then they leave the film saying, no, I'm good, actually, because it seems like hell. I actually watched the film, and I was inspired to start making another short film. I've made a few in my life, but this movie inspired me to pick up my camera again or pick up my pen again and start writing a silly little horror script. And I'm looking forward to getting into that. But this movie's all about the filmmaking process, the infernal nature, the repetitive nature of shooting something over and over and over again. And just when you think you have that perfect take, a light bulb blows out, or the rehearsal is better than the actual filmed acting. There's just so many little things that a lot of which go over my head because I haven't made a film of this magnitude. Everything I've made has been a few people making a movie, and it's not quite like Living in Oblivion. But Buscemi steals the show. Everybody in this is fantastic. Catherine Keener blew me away in this. I always thought she was good, but she super young, super hot, and so good in this role of a struggling actress who isn't the best actress until the director pulls that great actress out of her. And so for an actress to play a not so good actress that turns into a very good actress at certain parts of the film is really impressive to me. And so I loved Living in Oblivion. This movie is awesome. It's like a solid 4.5 out of 5. There's only one person left in here. Oh, well, that's okay. I'm on a roll like toilet tissue. Next up is one I'm actually now sinking to the floor. Catherine Keener, that's right. Get Out. I forgot that she was in Get Out. God, she's so good in Get Out. That's so good call on that one. Yeah, that movie, I still love Get Out. I rewatched that recently. Holds up magnificently. In my opinion, deals with complex issues very deftly and carefully. Maybe not carefully, but it's an awesome movie. And that scene still makes my heart retreat into my asshole. So it's awesome. I love it. For anybody just joining, my heart retreating into my asshole was a metaphor. The next one here, Frankenstein. This one's from 1992. It's a Warner Archive. I want to say 90. Yeah, it's 93. This is a Frankenstein film starring Randy Quaid as the creature, I believe. I'm watching this tonight because it has to go back tomorrow. I read over the last week the original. Where is it? Got all my books over here. Frankenstein novel. I've never read Frankenstein. I ripped through it in like 5 days. I was obsessed with it. I've got a bunch of notes taken and I was blown away by the original Frankenstein novel, the unabridged Mary Shelley novel from the late 1700s now. God, I don't even remember when this novel is from. Yeah, early 18. I'm sorry, early 1800s. Yeah, so 1818. There you go. So Frankenstein, the novel, blew me away, and I was compelled. I've always loved Frankenstein adaptations, so I was compelled to pick up one that I hadn't yet seen, and that's the 1993 Randy Quaid Frankenstein film, made for TV movie, which I had heard was one of the better adaptations of the novel. Which, after reading the novel, not many of the adaptations even attempt to approach the profundity, the scale, the philosophical leanings of the original novel. The Universal film cuts out all that and just gives us a straight man, science, monsters kind of man versus science. Should we be playing God? Those kinds of ideas, which are in the novel, but there's so much more to the novel. I won't go into it here. I can, but I won't. This is not a book YouTube channel. So I'll be watching this tonight. I hear it's very close to the novel, and I'm excited to check that out. So we've got HUM. Hey, just tuned in. We'll watch the start later. Curious if you're a fan of Tony Scott. Yeah, of course. It's all good. Nobody's really. There's been like a max of 3 or 4 people in here, so I'm assuming. I'm treating it as if I have a full room of people. That way people can go back and kind of watch it and maybe get some enjoyment out of it. Tony Scott. Yes, I am a fan of Tony Scott. Here, I'm going to bring up my phone, which I don't necessarily love doing during a live stream, but I do have a list of Tony Scott films because I'm a nut. Any director that I love, I make rankings of on Letterboxd. Letterboxd is an app that makes it really, a social media movie app that makes it really easy for you to create lists, and I'm obsessed with lists. I think a lot of people are. I used to do lists on my YouTube channel. Plan to get back to that, by the way. So right now I'm just getting to my Tony Scott films I've seen. Luke C, just dropping in, but hope you're having a great day. Thank you, Luke. I am hanging in there, having a good one. I'm just doing a short stream here, just trying to get my feet wet with the whole streaming thing, get more comfortable. I'm actually pretty comfortable, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, thanks for stopping in. If you have any questions or anything for me, feel free to ask them. Aren't many people in here right now, so I can address anybody's questions or comments, Agua. So Tony Scott, my favorite Tony Scott film is True Romance, for sure. I think a lot of people probably share that sentiment. The way it goes for me, I'll say the top 5. True Romance, Man on Fire, Enemy of the State, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Last Boy Scout. I love all of those films. And then we get into films I really like. Spy Game, which I think is an underrated spy thriller, more of a grounded, realistic spy thriller. And it was the first of its kind I had seen. All I was used to growing up was James Bond films and goofy, over-the-top spy films. And then when I was like 17, 18, this film came out, and I was like, holy shit, this is so intense, so good. I really loved Spy Game. It's been many years. Robert Redford, Brad Pitt, great movie. Next up, we have Crimson Tide, which was a Tony Scott directed, Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington, submarine thriller. To be honest, I don't remember too much about it. Not my favorite submarine thriller, I guess, because that's a subgenre. That's a video. Top 5 submarine thrillers. There's certainly plenty. Unstoppable is the next one up here. Another one I really enjoyed. Top Gun, really enjoyed. Don't love it like a lot of people do. I watched it super late. True Romance is definitely on my shelf, as it should be. True Romance is a brilliant film. I always imagine what it would have been like if Tarantino directed it, but I think it was lightning in a bottle with Tony Scott. I think Tony Scott, his vision was so... his cinematic vision was so inculcated in him at that point, and his style just oozes off the screen, and it really complements the almost over-the-top script, definitely over-the-top script at sometimes. And Tony Scott's vision almost grounds it in some sort of realism, even though there are so many over-the-top characters and so many over-the-top sequences. I think Tony Scott coming in, giving it a level of realism, and it oozes with atmosphere. I fucking love that film. It's such a hazy atmosphere when I think about it. Next up, we have Unstoppable, Top Gun, Deja Vu, another one I rewatched pretty recently, and I just was blown away by it. Didn't remember loving it or liking it very much, but it's solid 3.5 out of 5. I was like, this is just a really solid thriller. It's like kind of predictable. You know where it's going, but it lands the plane rather well. 6 people in here. We are rolling. Hell yeah, happy to hear you're a fan. I've been diving into his 2000 stuff, and the change in his style from the 80s and 90s is so drastic. Definitely. Don't know too many other directors that had such a change. For sure, yeah. I mean, not even his brother changes that much over time, right? But I agree. Tony Scott, even though I've yet to see a couple of his films like The Hunger. I've seen The Hunger, but it's just shadowy memories to me. There's a couple of his Revenge I still need to see, which is the film that Tarantino saw that caused him to want Tony Scott to direct True Romance, and the rest is history, of course. The Hunger, like I said, I have seen, but it just didn't leave a lasting impression to me. Atmospheric, no doubt, but just don't remember much about it. Domino, another one I watched back in the day and was like, there was something about it, and I can't remember what it was, but there was something about the way that the film was constructed that drove me nuts, and I couldn't get into the film at all. And I've yet to go back and watch it. I've heard in hindsight, it seems a lot of people enjoy Domino, but give it another shot at some point. And then we have at the bottom 2, we have The Fan, which I don't hate. I don't hate The Fan. I don't necessarily really enjoy The Fan. It could have been much better. There's a lot of elements. There's some great elements in that film. Robert De Niro, Wesley Snipes, Tony Scott, a baseball thriller. Those are all things that actually interest me. And it just doesn't. It never exceeds into greatness. It just doesn't. And it's just a lackluster thriller with some really big names at the time. Speaking of Tarantino, Pelham 123, the original, is the film that inspired the names in Reservoir Dogs. That's right, Mr. Blue. Yep. And by the way, that's ironic that you bring that up. Maybe you brought it up because Tony Scott directed the remake of Pelham 123, which is my least favorite Tony Scott film. And the original Taking of Pelham 123 is one of my favorite 70s films. Actually, one of my favorite films of all time. I think that is a masterclass in slow burn, structured filmmaking, character-driven. Walter Matthau's phenomenal in it. All the guys in the train, all the robbers, are so human. They all have human flaws and human characteristics that make them so relatable and really have you rooting for them. You're torn between Matthau and the bad guys, where in my opinion, there's really only one really bad guy in the original Taking, and that's Robert Shaw's character, just such a great villain. Hopefully I'm getting my details right. When you're rambling off the top like this, without any notes, you could get some things wrong, and I'll be crucified, I'm sure, by people. But yeah, Pelham 123, the remake, not so good. The original, absolutely brilliant. I mean, I love it. I love it. It's fantastic. It's a massive fan of Face Off. I can't help but love Travolta's unhinged performance in the remake. But yeah, I understand. It's so different. I prefer the original, but respect what Tony went for. Yeah, and to be fair, I watched the remake after I had seen the original for the first time. So I went into it probably with a tainted perspective, to be fair. But, Travolta, I do remember Travolta's performance. That was like one of the first unhinged, how do I say? I guess Face Off is like really unhinged. Pulp Fiction loosens him up. Face Off, and then you have things like Taking a Pelham 123, where he starts to care less about his career and the types of movies he was choosing. And now, like, Travolta's just wallowing in the pit of DTV shitty action thrillers, like a lot of the our great heroes, actors from the 80s and 90s, like Robert De Niro. But yeah, so anyway, what else have I been watching? We'll talk about a few more. I'm gonna go probably 10 15 more minutes. I do want to do some writing tonight. So what's up, Harry fan? How's it going? Long time no see. I recognize your name. We talked about your name at one point. I just had a memory. Is it Perry fan because Steve Perry, if I'm not mistaken? Is that Journey? God, am I wrong about that? Steve Perry. Steve Perry, Journey. Yeah, I have my moments. I don't know how I do it. I've been hanging in there. Thank you for asking. Yes, Steve Ferry. I remember our conversation. Absolutely. It just takes a minute for the wheels to get a turning. It's hard for me because I'm a face. I'm a face person. I'm not good with names, but I remember people's faces and memories based on that. And so the whole digital world is something that I have to assimilate to, essentially. Don't we all? It's kind of creepy. Let's talk about the last few movies I've watched. Let's talk about one in particular that actually has some controversy behind it, which I only learned about today. So I watched a film called Late Night with the Devil. This is a Shudder exclusive, I believe, that the concept is brilliant. The conceit is what intrigued me to check the film out. And in fact, I watched it 2 days in a row. I watched it one night and then the next day because I wanted to get a little bit more from it. But Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dastmalchian from Suicide Squad, I think people probably know him from. He's been popping up as a character actor in a lot of films lately, and he's fantastic. I can't wait to see what this guy does, especially in the realm of horror. I think he has the potential to really do some special work, and I'm glad he's getting the notice here. Please be vague. Be vague. Yeah. Be vague about what? Oh, Late Night with the Devil. No, I'm not going to try to. I'm not going to spoil it. Absolutely not. I'm just going to talk about the synopsis, what you would read, or like a trailer, I suppose. So and I understand that a lot of people think trailers and synopsises are spoilerish too, and I agree they could be. But Late Night with the Devil, the concept is a 70s TV show, filmed like a 70s old talk show, I should say, like Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien. From the 70s, this guy who's competing with ratings with Johnny Carson at the time has to do some extreme things, he believes, to get successful ratings and beat Johnny Carson. It's sort of one of the kinds of sell your soul to the devil kind of stories. So that's really the basis of it. The performances, especially the main performance, is fantastic. And all the people surrounding the talk show host are excellent as well. And everything is just so believable. That's what's so cool about this film. It has like these little breaks that I swear to God, I felt like I was going to commercial breaks. It was just so impressive and so immersive. And I really loved it. Everyone's buzzing about it. I'm going to get it sooner or later. Absolutely. I watched it on Shudder. I got a free 7-day trial for AMC, and AMC includes Shudder. So it was a good deal. I'm trying to burn through the Shudder stuff for the month that I have it, which is great. Shudder's awesome, especially for modern horror. If you want to really find some gems, Shudder is fantastic. I will say. But Late Night with the Devil, definitely worth seeing. I gave it a 3.5 my first viewing out of 5. The second viewing, I gave it a 4, just because I think what it sets out to do, it does fantastically. It almost feels like a VHS segment stretched into 90 minutes, 3-act structure, but it really works well. Don't let that deter you. It's not slow at all. I actually watched the second day with my mom and my stepfather because every once in a while I like to expose my mom to modern horror to get her take, because she's one of the people who got me into horror when I was younger. When horror was she was more into the classical horror, Psycho, Night of the Living Dead, things like that. And they both loved it. And time goes so fast when you're watching this movie because it's really immersive. So definitely recommend it. It's got some great sequences, great tension all throughout the film. And can't wait to see what David Dastmalchian does next and what the directors do next. Now, here's the controversy, and I want to get your guys' opinions if you have one on it. You got me down the Hong Kong rabbit hole with your last stream. Excited to hear what you've been watching. Samuel's film Millionaire's Express was my favorite watch last month. That's awesome. I'm so glad. I'm so happy that I could have inspired you to go down that rabbit hole, because it's a fun rabbit hole. I was wallowing in it for 2 months. I had so much fun. I was speaking Mandarin by the end of the 2 months, believe it or not. No, but it's just such a unique studio Shaw Brothers was. And I know Sammo wasn't really doing much with the Shaw Brothers. He had his own clout. The Yin brothers, the 7 little godfathers, or the Peking opera, where Sammo comes from, Yin Bio comes from, Jackie Chan, all those guys, Corey Yin, all those guys come from the same class, same school. And they were able to do their own stuff aside from the Shaw Brothers while the Shaw Brothers was working. And yeah, Millionaire's Express I actually haven't seen, to be honest. I have a DVD of it, but the DVD is kind of letterboxed, it's kind of crappy. I'm just kind of waiting for, I don't know, maybe I could sell it and fund a Blu-ray of some kind, and I'd love to have a conversation of martial arts and Asian cinema with you, man. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'd love to engage in any sort of movie conversations. As you could tell, I just watched Mystery of Chess Boxing for the first time on Blu-ray. Chess Boxing, I haven't seen that one either. I've seen a lot of Shaw Brothers, but I haven't seen that one. Yeah, I watched a mix of Shaw Brothers stuff and Jackie Samo. Also a bit of Michelle Yeoh. Oh, Michelle Yeoh, so underrated. So underrated. I think she is fantastic. Oh, Yes, Madam. Guys, check out Yes, Madam. It's so good. Check out Magnificent Warriors, Royal Warriors, all within a similar kind of franchise. Got the box set for In the Line of Duty films. I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous of that. I have a few of them on DVD. I have a few of them on Blu-ray, but I would love to sell them all and get a nice, concise box set. That would be swell. Have you been keeping up with the 88 films and Eureka releases? Hell no, Perry fan. I'm sorry to say, I've been struggling with money over the last couple years, and that's part of why I stopped collecting as much. I had to slow down, especially new releases. So I kind of dove into thrifting and getting movies for cheap, flipping them, that kind of thing. And over the last few years, I did have my time buying all the latest 88 films releases, and I still have many of them, and I'm grateful for that. Recently, I sold off a bunch of them to fund the Shaw Brothers Arrow box sets, which are nice and concise. And my 88 films were still fetching a bit, and a lot of them were still sealed. So that was awesome. Honestly, Perry fan, I don't even want to know what 88 films has been releasing. It would break my heart to have to pass on these stuff. But hey, c'est la vie, right? You got to do what you got to do. Things are getting harder and harder out here for normal people, in my opinion, not to get, economical, political, but it's getting harder and harder to put money into things that you enjoy. Not only that, but you make a business out of the things you enjoy. And, I've been working full time. I'm making more money than I've ever made, which isn't a lot, but it's still not allowing me to be able to buy $20, $30 movies when they come out. So, which is fine. I have more than enough. I'm more than grateful. I am privileged in what I own. I mean, it's insane. If you guys knew the half of what I own. In fact, when I move into my new place, I'm going to do live stream after live stream of me refilling my shelves, going through boxes of boxes. It's going to be fun. Grab some brews. Not me, but the audience could grab some brews and watch me do that. It'll be fun. We all struggle with the money. Yeah. I'm only really buying the releases I can afford and the ones with most importance to my collection. I totally get it. Yeah. And that's another thing I try to keep in perspective. We're all struggling. If you live in this country or many, many countries in the world right now, it's getting harder and harder to put money into things that you enjoy as a hobby. So, but like I said, that's a privilege. I recognize that, and I'm grateful for what I have, which is more than 99.9% of people. When it comes down to it, I own probably close to 10,000 films, all in storage right now. My God, except for a couple boxes I had to bring. Yeah, I brought my Criterion collection because I want to try to be a snobby Criterion watcher for the next 2 months, and all I've been watching is shitty horror films. So, but I wanted to talk about real quick, the Late Night with the Devil. Am I missing any comments here? You might have mentioned it before, but if you had to pick, what are your top 3 or top 5 Hong Kong directors? Oh, yeah. Johnny To, one of my favorites. Exiled is one of my favorite films of all time. Election 2, Heroic Trio, Throwdown, Wild City. Johnny To is one of the best directors of all time. He's one of my favorite genre directors. Action, thriller, crime. Oh, he's the best. I have goosebumps. He's probably my favorite, honestly, if I had to think about it. Ringo Lam, one of my favorite directors, absolutely. Almost a lot like Johnny To, not as prolific. We lost him a few years ago, sadly, Ringo Lam. But Ringo Lam is known for films like Full Contact. I want to say the Van Damme film In Hell. Off the top of my head here, I'm blanking. But Ringo Lam, School on Fire. Is that Ringo? Yeah. School on Fire, the On Fire films. Ringo Lam is fantastic. He's just such a great filmmaker. Our generation is particularly grateful and patient. All that VHS rewinding and cartridge blowing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You must be in your 30s. Tsui Hark, a name or 40s. Tsui Hark, a name I want to get into. Tsui Hark is a director who never has yet to really click with me. I like some of his films, but sometimes his action is a little too chaotic, over the top, and hard to discern and follow. I know other people feel that way. I'm sure other people feel that way. I don't know. Tsui Hark is just one of those directors that hasn't fully clicked with me yet. But I would say Johnny To, Ringo Lam, John Woo, Chang Che, Lau Kar-leung, also known as Liu Chialong. Those are the Shaw Brothers guys. Those are probably my top five. And honestly, if I was to sit down and really think about it, those would probably still be in my top five. I'm probably missing a couple off the top here, but yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Tsui Hark does feel like the opposite of To, where To is more reserved, clean, discernible. Oh, man, I watched one of his films called Breaking News towards the end of my Hong Kong movie binge. Breaking News has some of the most skillful old Hollywood Scorsese-like movements of the camera as it moves through action sequences, and I just love that. Tsui Hark is all over the place with his action, and the choreography just never. I got to give Tsui Hark more of a chance because he did the Once Upon a Time in China films, right? And everybody raves about those films. I need to see those films. So, the 7-minute one take. Are you referring to Breaking News? It's a one take that opens up that film, right? It's just breathtaking. I watched it twice. It was breathtaking. To me, To is like a more genre-focused Scorsese. I really, really feel that way. He's almost the Chinese Scorsese, the Hong Kong Scorsese. But I think he might have more style than Scorsese, and that's saying quite a bit because Scorsese's style exudes from the screen. But watch Exiled, man. Exiled is just, I can cry thinking about it. Literally. 36-year-old man, I can cry thinking about Exiled, and it's story, it's brotherhood, it's honor, it's loyalty, it's violence. It's just quite the film. No, Breaking News. Breaking News was the 7-minute. That shit blew me away. I feel like there's a lot of Leone in some of his Leone too, and there's also a lot of Leone and Scorsese, right? So, Vengeance and Exiled, almost spaghetti westerns. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I never really thought of it that way. So operatic, wonderful word to describe Exiled. Every action movement in that film is ethereal, otherworldly. The slow motion, the wafting of the dusters, the dust jackets, the pulling out of pistols, just the scene where they're in the doctor's office and the sheets are just bellowing in the wind. It's no one creates an atmosphere like To. No one. Vengeance, I still have to see. Do you know of any way I can watch that film legally? Like any streaming? I can't find that fucking movie anywhere. I could buy it, but I'm cheap and I don't want to. I want to watch it first before I buy it. In this case, I know I'm gonna love it, but Anywho. All right, so I'm gonna go. God, I'm so addicted to this. I could just keep going. Samantha Stavropoulos. I tried, Samantha. Thank you for joining. I love your little logo. I could see it. Scream. Scream is classic. I love it. No one does set pieces like To. No one. Have you seen The Mission? It only exists on DVD, but it's getting a 4K restoration this year. Yay! The Mission's awesome. The Mission, I really, really liked the first time, but I was expecting Exiled level camaraderie, action, and it didn't live up to my expectations the first time around, but I still gave it like a 4 out of 5. You know what I mean? But everybody was saying how The Mission is one of To's best, and I was like, yeah, it's up there, but it's one that I think needs to grow on me. And I watched it at a time where I was stuffing so many 90s heroic bloodshed movies in that I start to conflate them. But Scream is Scream is awesome. Which Scream movie is your favorite? The original OG, because that's mine. I think most people would say the original Scream is their favorite. I liked, what was it, 5? And then 6 came out last year, and I was like, okay, I think this well is drying up a tad. It was okay, but I really feel like they squandered the setting. New York City, it's like it never even felt like it was in New York City. It was kind of a waste. Says the mission feels like a prequel to Exiled. Yeah. That's you're astute, very observant there. I think that's probably right. And Vengeance feels like a sequel to Exiled. Okay, interesting. So, okay, you've got my interest peaked. I watched a European Blu-ray, not sure how to find it in the US, but yeah, you'd love Vengeance. Has the cast from Exiled. Oh, jeez. Doesn't have a Westerner as the lead, a French guy or something like that. Is that right? I always thought that was weird. Is the film in Mandarin or Cantonese, or is it in English? Because I know Anthony Wong speaks a little bit of English. A lot of those guys do. Anthony Wong, I believe, is half British, actually. Anthony Wong, one of the great prolific actors, the lead in Exile, is such underrated actor, fantastic actor. So good. Up there with Cho Yun. Yeah, so he's French, but travels to Hong Kong to recruit hitmen. Okay, well, shit. You had me at travels to Hong Kong to recruit hitmen. That's all I need in my movie. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I'll have to track that down. Anybody else in the chat that we got 8 people rolling now? Anybody else have any questions or anything they've been watching that you want to talk about? I could talk about a couple other horror films I've seen. Watch a really good one, I think. Damn it. Really good horror film from 23 called Cobweb. Directed by Samuel Bowden. This is like a low-budget film that doesn't reinvent the wheel, plays on some familiar tropes, but executes said tropes with style. This movie has some of the coolest expressionistic lighting I have seen in a modern horror film in many years. Anybody who's seen it will know what I'm talking about. There's a specific sequence of great tension that the filmmaker employs some incredible shadow play. It's just wonderful. Anthony Wong's best movie, in my opinion, is The Rare Rock and Roll Cop. It's on YouTube, but the Laserdisc and VCD are hard to get. Interesting. Rock and Roll Cop. I'll have to add that to my list. 2024 horror releases. I've only seen The First Omen, but excited for Late Night with the Devil for sure. First Omen, I've heard good things about. I don't know. Like I haven't even seen the Omen sequels. I'm not even huge on the original Omen, The First Omen, which we have to differentiate from The First Omen. The First Omen versus The First Omen. I hate these titling schemes from these fucking marketing companies that think they're hip and groundbreaking. I've heard good things. Yeah, Cobweb is really interesting, guys. Check it out. Give it a chance. You'll probably have an idea of where it's going in the first 10 minutes, and stick with it because it has some surprising turns. It's really cool. It's also on DVD, hard to find, but give the film a chance on YouTube. I will. Rock and Roll Cop. I will check that out. Rosemary's Baby, Possession, and or Suspiria. Chances are you'd get a kick out of the First Omen. It has more of the DNA than Omen. Okay. Well, I love Suspiria. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Possession. Are we talking about the Andrzej Wojciech? Butchered that Polish name. Film with Sam Neill. Excellent film. Lovecraftian. Subtly Lovecraftian. I love that movie. I have a really nice special edition of that, which I don't even want to know how much it goes for now. A buddy of mine got that for me for my birthday years back. In my opinion, there's no bad Scream movies, but I tend to rewatch the first one. Yeah, I agree. There's no bad Scream movies. I can agree with that. I think the weakest is probably the last one or 3. But even with that said, they're still solid movies. I don't know what I need to rewatch 3 because it just it's tainted in my mind. Yes. Yeah. I think that's the Scream movies have yet to falter, and that's a good thing. And I think they have some good directors at the helm right now, Bettinelli and whatever his name is, and I think they're doing a fine job with the franchise, and I hope the next one surprises us a little bit more. I just don't know how much you can do in that universe, which is a parody of horror film universes, a critique, a satire of horror film universes. My dog is looking at me like, yo, I got to go outside. I think I'm going to get ready to call it here in a minute. But I'm coming, boy. Yeah, he's got that look. Like, I'm going to piss in this room if you don't let me out, you motherfucker. It's most anticipated 2024 release. I was excited for Furiosa until I watched some of the trailer, and I was just like, wow, CG. Wow, CG. There's a lot of CG. It's all looks all fake. What is going on, George? Maybe I'm bugging, but we'll see. We'll see. I love Anya Taylor-Joy. It's my girl. I think she's fantastic. I think she's beautiful. She has such presence. She was the best thing about Last Night in Soho. She's awesome. I'm a Scream 3 advocate. My second favorite. Fair enough. Absolutely. That's what makes things interesting. What kind of doggo is he? He is a beagle, an old, frail beagle. He's about to be 14. He is a Snoopy. How did you know that? That's creepy. I'm just kidding. He is a Snoopy. Here, let me see. The room's a mess, so forgive me. I've got his bed and everything. We sleep, he sleeps on the floor next to me. There's my little boy. Yeah, my little boy. He's an old dog. He's got a bunch of problems, but he's still trucking along. Absolutely. Thank you. I'm grateful that you enjoy these because I enjoy. It's very addictive. I can't believe I've been doing this for an hour. I told myself I'd write for an hour tonight. It's going to be a late night for me. I'm working on a script. Shh. Hopefully it's good. I'm trying. But it was a pleasure talking to all you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are the reason why I do this, why I keep coming back, why I can't put YouTube away, why I feel like it's a part of me at this point. I'm doing it for so long. I love it. So I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm going to try to do this once a week. I have a creative plan that I want to implement soon. I'm not going to say anything yet because I have a lot of cool things that I want to do. I said that before, though. So I'm going to speak with my actions rather than my words, but I do plan to do a live stream randomly at least once a week. And maybe I'll get one in on this weekend so we can have more of a audience kind of thing going on, more of an audience, I suppose. Because, I love doing this, but I do like doing it for an audience, I'm not going to lie. Good boy. I love dogs. I have a 12-year-old husky. That's awesome. Good old huskies are gorgeous animals, gorgeous dogs. Good luck with the script. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's coming along. It's one I've been working on for years. I pick up, put down, and hopefully make better over the years. And I am setting out to finish it this year. So we'll see what happens. Thank you, guys. I will see you all soon. I feel tethered to everyone. I don't want to leave, but I'm going to leave. Love you guys. Bored Cyborg is out. End stream. End stream. Peace.